Welcome to Inside the Canopy Files, a production of Canopy Realtor Association in Charlotte, North Carolina.
March is recognized as Women's History Month. It's a month where we reflect and recognize the gains and contributions that women have made in nearly every industry, as we strive to move the needle ever closer to equality. I'm Marie DeCatsye, and I have the honor of serving as CEO of Canopy Realtor Association, the 15th largest local realtor association, and Canopy MLS, the 17th largest MLS in the country. I am also an attorney, an advocate for homeownership, a real estate industry leader, a wife, and a mom. And today, I am thrilled to be back hosting this special edition of Inside the Canopy Files. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of talking with two phenomenal women who continue to make history. It's been amazing to have watched them grow within the industry and forge their paths into leadership. And as the CEO of Canopy, I've had the pleasure of being able to collaborate and work closely with both of them. Today, we will visit with Maren Brisson Kuester, Chief Operating Officer of Corcoran HM Properties, and Brenda Hayden, CEO and Team Lead at Keller Williams Realty University. Both have served in leadership roles at Canopy's Executive Committee as President, which has oversight of Canopy Realtor Association, Canopy MLS, and Canopy Housing Foundation Board of Directors. Join us as they reflect on their paths into leadership, the ups and downs, and where their journey is taking them. I have to tell our audiences a little more about you, so bear with me a moment. Maren is, as I said, the Chief Operating Officer and a broker realtor with Corcoran HM Properties. She started her career in real estate back in 2003. She quickly achieved top producer status with the firms she worked with, but honed her leadership skills with Canopy, formerly Charlotte Regional Realtor Association, as a graduate of the Leadership Academy class of 2005. She knew early in her career that involvement within the industry would help her achieve success, and has been involved in our local, state, and national associations. She served 2 terms as president of Canopy in 2015 and 16, and also served a term as president of the North Carolina Realtors in 2020. She received a number of awards, including being recognized with Canopy's highest honor, Realtor of the Year, in 2016, for outstanding contributions to the industry and community. Welcome, Maren. And now a little about our second guest, Brenda. She's been in the real estate industry business for more than 25 years, and she's currently the CEO and team lead of Keller Williams University office. Before real estate, she explored several careers, including insurance, credit finance, and area director of the nonprofit Builders of Hope. Like Maren, she knew early that getting involved with the industry would secure her success. So even before graduating from Canopy Leadership Academy's class in 2015, she began volunteering in a number of leadership roles in not only our local association, but also the State Association and the National Association of Realtors. Brenda made history when she was elected to serve as the first African American woman president of the Canopy Realtor Association in 2019. During her year as president, she successfully led our rebranding journey that ultimately provided a comprehensive and cohesive brand platform, resulting in all of our entities coming under the Canopy umbrella. Like Maren, she has also received the association's highest honor, the Realtor of the Year Award, in 2022. Brenda is now running to be elected as president of North Carolina Realtors. Thank you both for being here with me today. Your bios are barely a scratch of the surface of your achievements, but that's why we're here today, talking with you about your paths to leadership and hopefully inspiring younger generation of women listening. So let's get started. I'll start out by highlighting that as women, we wear many hats, and it's often hard for us to recognize and celebrate ourselves and tell the stories of how we got where we are. I know I can credit my parents, and specifically my mom, as my role model and probably the reason that I know so much about real estate. But my own career had a number of twists and turns before becoming CEO of Canopy. So let's break the ice. And I want you both to think back when you were much younger to the time when you were perhaps first dreaming of what you wanted to be when you grew up. So tell me about the young Maren.
Well, the young Maren had a lot of thoughts, as the old Maren does as well. But in elementary school, at one point, I absolutely thought I was going to be the next Troy Aikman in football and dressed up accordingly for about 3 consecutive Halloweens in a row before I discovered that that was not exactly in my cards. But I really thought about being a judge. I always wanted to be a Supreme Court judge. And I actually thought my path would lead me through law school under, mass communications and coming in as media law and growing my way up that way to the courts. And boy, did I end up not doing at all anything that I thought I would do way back when as a young Maren. But I actually wanted to be a judge because I believed in fairness for everyone. I thought life was not fair and did not play everyone's cards the same way. And I thought being a judge helped level that playing field.
Well, I think you have used some of those skills in your roles in this industry. So we'll get to that in a little bit. So Brenda, please jump in and as well and talk to us about what the young Brenda wanted to be.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here this morning. The young Brenda, crazy enough, thought she wanted to be a nurse. And I soon realized, because I'm squeamish and I don't like all the stuff that goes along with nursing, that was not the career path for me. But as I grew up and matured a bit, I too wanted to go in law at one point. But somehow I ended up in engineering. I went to college as an engineering scholar. But I did not like being in a male-dominated industry. Yeah, and here we are. And so I went along the path of insurance because I felt security, and it still gave me an opportunity to care for people more on the policy side of health. So that's how I got to where I am today.
That's great. Well, I'm probably showing my age, but I wanted to be Perry Mason when I grew up. So law school was kind of in my cards eventually, which I did do, but I did not end up practicing law. Far from it. I do think it's interesting that you both were wanting to be in fields where you would be helping people, and I think you're dead on with being fair. I think there's a lot in the code of ethics about being fair. So I do think that the young Brenda and Maren had qualities that are definitely used in your careers where you ended up. So let's talk about it. How did you guys get into the business, and why did you ultimately choose real estate? So Brenda or Maren?
I got into the business because I wanted to run my own business. And I came out of college and was working for marketing companies and started my real estate class at night. Actually, that was how I dated my first husband. We took real estate classes together at night at Mingle, which is now Canopy, but it was a beginning of a life that we started. And my favorite story is we went to take our state exam, and we actually both still laugh about this. We walk out. I made a joke about, oh, that was horrible. I did not pass. And he said, oh, don't worry, neither did I. And then I had to figure out how to tell him actually I had passed. And in fact, it was pretty embarrassing when you're dating somebody and you think there was no way they didn't because their family's from real estate. But I decided to go into real estate because I'd always loved homes and properties and really felt compelled to do my own thing. And my father and mother had started their own business out of our living room when I was 6 years old. And they had been great mentors to me on how to go make your own living. I do believe in killing what you eat, and they taught me that. And so that's ultimately what led me to go into this line of work.
So that entrepreneurial spirit was ingrained in you
Absolutely
from a young age. So a little secret, Brenda and I were in pre-licensing together also at Mingle. So I know when Brenda took at least pre-licensing in North Carolina, but Brenda, how did you end up choosing real estate?
Um, as it would happen, I believe you have to surround yourself with people who see greater in you than sometimes you even see in yourself. So I happened to be working with two young ladies that had gotten their license in real estate. And they both said, Brenda, you should do real estate. And I'm thinking, I'm here comfortable in my corporate insurance chair. Why would I ever do real estate? But as life would turn, I won't say I took them up on a bet, but I said, heck, why not? Um, at the core of what I learned in that journey, though, coming up the way I did, um, when it comes to housing and familiar and community, I quickly learned that at the core of community, housing stabilization, um, children growing up in great environments, the core of that is real estate. And once I caught on to that, that was it. That was absolutely it. And so that experience, I thank my friends for kind of, throwing the gauntlet in the challenge because I discovered something amazing in that.
And I think you making that connection of how important homeownership is has made you a great leader here also. So getting back to how you started in the industry as women, and you both came with unique circumstances. As Maren, you were very young, and Brenda as first African American in leadership as a president of our organization. What really unique challenges have you faced as women in the business, and how did you overcome them?
So unique, I can't identify that it was unique. But one of the challenges I felt as a woman of color in the industry, and to just roll back a little bit, I had only lived in Charlotte maybe 3 years. So I really didn't feel like I knew anyone in Charlotte other than my coworkers. So that was kind of the biggest hurdle. It's like, okay, how do I grow this business? How do I meet people? What do I do next? And as the saying goes, the real estate pre-licensing, it teaches you the law. It doesn't teach you the business. So quickly identifying that I had to get ingrained in the community, meet people, and show my value. That was one of the biggest challenges for me.
Well, I started real estate at 23, and clearly my hair has changed colors umpteen times since then, and I've grown up a little bit. But what I have found, not unique, certainly to Brenda's point, it's actually a common theme in many women's careers, that it was not easy to be taken seriously at all, as a matter of fact. Not only was I a female, but I was a young female. And that was the kiss of death, honestly, for years at the beginning of my career. It's where you go pick up scraps, right? That's where I learned to be scrappy. I grew up playing sports, clearly didn't play football, switched my gears to softball and was a catcher for a long time. And I deployed what I did on that dirt every day. I was the smallest person on that field and had the toughest position. So I walked into this career with the same mentality. I was going to succeed. It was just a matter of how. So I had a lot of wonderful female role models that worked around me at that time at Bissell Hayes who taught me how to do this job correctly. Because back then I was given a phone book and a desk and a phone and good luck. I mean, that was it. That was the training. You either sank or swim. No one actually thought I would swim, which was fascinating to look back at a couple decades later. And I did. And it was a matter of legitimizing yourself and proving to yourself that you had the confidence and the knowledge and the wherewithal to stand on your own 2 feet and be successful. And yes, in fact, I do know what I'm talking about. And this is why. So I think as a young woman in any career path, you have to prove yourself a little more. But I'll tell you, you have to prove yourself more to yourself than anyone else. Because we are built to believe we're a supporting cast member. We're not built to believe we're the headline act. So that's ultimately, what real estate has continued to bolster in me, that I can run my own career and I can run it quite successfully. And in fact, in the face of many people, male and female, who never thought I could.
Great answers. What's interesting, you even grew up here,
I did.
and being young, starting here was a struggle. And like you, Brenda, I moved here when I was 34. I didn't know anybody, and I had to create my, sphere. And I remember telling my mom I had never encountered sexism until I moved to Charlotte, and that was in 1995. And I moved here from DC. I worked for Mark Kramer at Ribic. He was fantastic, but I would go to meetings with him where literally people would direct conversation to him as if I was not even in the room. And it was just a very bizarre situation. I'm glad to say things have changed tremendously, but it was really a very different environment when I first moved here. And I feel like we've made a lot of strides, at least. So could you guys think of, in your career, was there maybe one person or something that inspired you, or like who were your mentors? And do you think it's even necessary to have a mentor or a coach? Or it's kind of a lot of questions in one, but
Yeah. For me, there definitely was a thing, if you will, or a phrase, and that was no. I don't like being told no. So if I see a challenge, I'm going to definitely try to overcome that challenge. So when encountering no, and we definitely hear a lot more no's in this business, it makes your skin tough. And if you got tough skin, you go after it. You charge the storm, if you will. But there were definitely people along my journey that, from the shadows, if you will, have mentored me. I tend to watch people, see how they move. Um, some are in this room. Actually, both are in this room at this moment. But identifying people that operate in integrity and have walked the path that you are pursuing, and to be a student of those individuals. Not necessarily a formal mentorship, even though I do have mentors, but watching the greats, if you will, in our industry, and those that operate in high integrity. Those are the folks I tend to glean and follow their footpath.
Throughout my life, I've had more mentors than I could even catalog, and I'm very blessed for that. First and foremost, in my own home as a child, I grew up in an environment where my mother was extremely empowered. She ran our family business. My father did nothing without seeking her counsel, and she ran our family with an iron fist. She was the epitome of wearing multiple hats and doing it extremely successfully. So I grew up with that environment, with the support of a man who believed in a woman. And that taught me everything I deserved in my life. And then I went to go work at Bissell Hayes, which truly, I believe, jump-started my future. And it was not because I got a desk and a phone book. It was because I went to go work at the first female-owned company in the city of Charlotte. Betty Hayes started that company back when her husband died. And as my grandmother used to say, Baxter, her son, his knees knocked her dining room table almost every night because she was working tirelessly as a single mom with several children. And she could not get a business loan in her name at that time. She had to partner with her best friend's husband, Smokey Bissell. And that taught me from a very early age in my career that anything is possible. If someone believes you and backs you, that's all you need. Now, that's somewhat of a shame that she had to be backed by a male in this community, but that was just the way it was back then, and that was life carried forward. And then throughout my career, I've been led by strong women like Brenda in this room, and Marie has been integral in my development of my personal skills, but so has every other female that I have worked alongside of throughout my career, because they embody all different humans. The single working mom that has to do this to make a living. The second chance broker who all of a sudden kids graduated from high school and what was she going to do with herself and recreated her career in a very successful way. And the ones who fell everywhere in between because they all built their own business. And that is something impressive, to say the least. And now I get the privilege of working alongside Val Mitchner, who is also the epitome of a power woman in every way and was a single mom, started a company as a single mom in the height of the recession. That's something that people just don't have the wherewithal to do. And I hazard a guess a lot of men don't either, because a woman is not afraid to take a risk, because our life is a risk. We support others. That's our role. And now I get to help lead over 100 amazing, powerful women and men at our company too. But there is something special about seeing these women come up and build their careers to support themselves and their families.
So I think it's really interesting, Maren, that you start your answer with your mom. And Brenda, I've heard you talk about your mom, Pearl, and I think it's not by chance that the three of us have very strong moms. I think that really kind of got us all three going in our lives and in our careers ultimately. So in terms of leadership, for many, it's a calling. Those within the clergy, for example, say it was a calling that they answered. But for a number of women, it starts out as a career plan or path. You picked a career and you got a certain job and got excited. When you think of leadership, do you think of it as a calling or a position that came and needed to be filled? Or is it just being in the right place at the right time because all the stars aligned?
I don't know if I would pin it either of the three, at least not for me. I think true leaders, you're the chief service officer. And whether that's a calling or something innate in you through your experience, service has to be, in my opinion, the core of leadership. It's not just filling a space because the stars aligned or the opportunity came. And unfortunately, we see leaders that want to be leaders for the sake of title. I think that's a misjustice for the folks that you're supposed to serve, because that's what leadership is, service, to be able to serve and willing to serve. When I have either been tapped on the shoulder for leadership, I often go, are you for real? I'm just here to serve. I'm here to work for the organization or whatever the issue is, because I'm passionate about that issue or the organization. So the service has to come first for me. The title, whatever chief, broom sweeper or whatever, that's how I'm driven by service.
Brenda's right. And the word that comes to mind is reluctant leadership. I did not, by any stretch of the imagination, think I was going to be in any sort of leadership role. Never thought I was qualified. Still really don't. Find it fascinating, actually. I've been elected a few times to certain things. And I just grew up knowing, and I guess it's probably my sports throughout my entire life, that there's no I in team. So for me, leadership was being part of a team. It was never a solo sport for me. I never played solo sports. So it was just a matter of how can I contribute to the cast I'm playing with. And that's how I view leadership, and that's how I got involved in it. That and my father's voice resonating in my brain my entire life of, do you want to be on the table or at the table? Those two principles really have compelled me into the trajectory that I have been thrown into in leadership. I knew that my voice mattered because I'm louder than others sometimes, and I choose to speak for them when they cannot or will not choose to speak for themselves. And that is really why I do what I do, because I believe everybody deserves a seat at that table. And I'm determined to ensure that they take their seat at the table.
Getting back to your fairness and wanting to serve on the Supreme Court. Well, I can say from personal experience for both of you, you both served when I needed you the most. I remember Maren asking you to serve a second term, And when I called you, your response was, I will do whatever you need, which was an incredible response because I was in a panic needing a strong leader, and you were there. Brenda, you were president the year my mom passed away, and it was really helpful and important to me to have a strong leader that I could lean on that year. So I just want to thank you both for your service at Canopy, because you both have done a tremendous job and helped out so much and made such an imprint on this organization that we will be eternally indebted to both of you here at Canopy for both of you and your service. Canopy Realtor Association has been around for about 103 years now, from 1921 to 1976. The association's leadership, like a number of organizations with similar backgrounds, was dominated by men, particularly white males. It took 55 years before a woman was even elected as president for the association, and that was Jackie Kaiser, who broke our glass ceiling, paving the way for 21 female presidents who followed her. I even have actually served early in my career with an all-female executive committee. I often think about what things were like for Jackie, being the only woman in the room at times. I know I've been to conferences and meetings where it is mostly men, and I know you guys are used to that. According to NER, as of 2022, 62% of all realtors are actually female, which means we're making great strides. But let's talk a little bit more. How do you both navigate at times being in the minority? But what advice can you share for other women who find themselves trailblazing in a male-dominated field? I often think about what things were like for Jackie being the only woman in the room at times. I know I've been at conferences and meetings where it may be mostly men. So you have to get used to that. But according to NER, as of 2022, 62% of all realtors are female. But we know the majority are not in leadership. Let's talk briefly a little bit more. How do you navigate at times being in the minority of leadership? And what advice can you share for other women who find themselves trailblazing in a male-dominated field of leadership in the industry?
To Brenda's point, don't take no. Convert a no into a yes, but climb on top of that no and make it your own. I will tell you that it's fascinating to be in an industry where it is predominantly female, but yet led by mostly men. I find that intriguing at best because, truthfully, women are perfect for this line of work. We know how to nurture. We know how to multitask. And we know how to get things done without anybody questioning it. Because we've been well-versed throughout our entire lives of having to work around men, whether we like it or not. So to be led by primarily men, it is, I won't say disheartening because it's the way of life, but it's a challenge and it's a gauntlet thrown down to every other female behind us. Do not get led, lead, period. Because there is no one who can walk your path better than you. And until you walk in your own confidence and know that, you won't be able to lead a group of people who are trying to follow behind you, because we all have somebody walking behind us. Everyone in leadership knows to extend their hand back. I happen to firmly believe women do that better, and they do it more meaningful. And we make sure people are well equipped to grow their companies, their careers, and their personal lives. So it's not just children we do that for. It's for our peers. We lift them up. We don't break them down. That is what I think is culturally wrong with a male-dominated corporate society. They believe in the breakdown method versus the build-up, and I think that's distinctly different.
And Brenda, for you, being African-American female in a still predominantly white male-dominated industry, what advice would you give in trying to trailblaze through that?
The advice I would give to women, and specifically women of color. Know that your voice is needed in the room. I often give folks a charge: if you don't see it, be it. So if you go into any type of institution or organization and you don't see leadership representative of who you are, become it. Because that will, like Maren stated, open the door for others. And your voice is needed. Your experience, as unique as you are, is needed in order to initiate change and really swing the doors of DEI open. I also like to add DEIR, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and representation. So it has to start with someone. And if you're not willing to be that someone, it has to start with you. If you don't see it, you really have to be willing to. It's not going to be easy. Never said it would be easy. But you have to put on your boots, walk into that room with confidence, knowing that you belong there and your voice is needed.
So DEIR representation leads to DEIL leadership. Simon Sinek is one of my favorite inspirational leaders. And as I've said many times, not too hard on the eyes. And he said that the best leaders are the best students because they are always learning and sharing what they learned to help grow others. And I think that quote has been very much reflected in a lot of what both of you have said so far. What is an important life lesson that you have learned?
Recent or in general?
It's up to you.
Yeah, that could go a lot of ways, right?
Yes. For me, recently, don't take time for granted. Now is the best time.
Learn from what's behind you, but don't turn back. Life, you get one swing at it. As Brenda said, life is short and it's fleeting. And if you can't look forward and move forward every day, then you're wasting it.
Don't take time for granted. Now's the time, and learn from the past, but look forward. Keep going forward. Great, great advice. So more on the advice side, what do we tell young women in real estate who are listing homes or helping buyers purchase? A lot of them have families, or maybe they are just starting out. They're focused on their careers typically. Why should women take more steps to become more deeply involved in their industries, like you two have?
Why would you not want to control your own destiny? Why? Why would you not want to exemplify for those children you're raising who to be one day? It's your most important legacy on this planet, if you're blessed enough to be a mother, to show them how to be and who to be. Doesn't matter whether you have a daughter or son. I'm blessed with boys, but I want them to know what a leader looks like, and not just a woman leader, what a leader is and who they should expect themselves to rise up to be one day.
For me, I would say for realtors who happen to be female in this industry, the reason why you should pursue leadership is because you owe it to yourself. The leadership journey, for me at least, has taught me so much more than assisting clients buying and selling their home. It has helped me grow as an individual. It has helped me show up bigger and have a bigger life than I thought I ever would. And I think it really speaks to the love for community. It's more than just moving in and through the community. It's having an impact on the real estate industry and thus other realtors who impact the communities where we live. So you owe it to yourself to grow, to really grow as an individual. Leadership, in my opinion, will do that.
This next question is very interesting. With all that's happening in our worlds, and we all have families and careers and run business and get involved, hopefully at our local association or MLS, and volunteer, sit on boards and speaking engagements, conferences that I know you both go to. And then, you're both managing firms and offices and mentoring new agents, along with helping buyers and sellers, both of you. Can you share strategies for how you balance your professional lives and personal responsibilities? And I'm just going to interject before you answer that I know for both of you that you both tend to get more done the busier you are. But beyond that, share your strategies for balancing your professional lives.
One, I would say put the big rocks in first, right? If everything's important, nothing is important. So and that can change day to day, right? Know what's important in that moment. Some things it's okay to have someone else do. Right. I recently had a conversation with a relative they can afford it, but she was bemoaning about cleaning her house. And I'm like, why are you cleaning your house? You can hire someone to do that. So know what you can leverage. Put the big rocks in first. Everything's not going to get done, and it's okay. But put the big rocks in first.
I agree with Brenda. And I would also add that for me personally, it's find your center and work from there. My center has always been my family first through everything. I find that everything I do centers around that. And every yes I give is given with them in mind. And every no I give is with them in mind. And I wake up every morning before I start my, yes, albeit normally very busy day, with a moment of gratitude. I always thank the powers that be for my life and who's in it. And then I proceed to make my checklist for the day. And I know that I take the bites out of the elephant. Like Brenda said, big rocks in first. Mine's bite off an elephant. You can take it down one bite at a time. And that's what I do. I checklist my entire life. And I have planners on my phone, written planners, you name it, because I like to visually see when I accomplish a task. And I will tell you that's been the one thing that has helped me in my life the most, as I've clearly discovered later in life that I am definitely a pinball with ADHD. That is a 100% fact. And by accomplishing the small tasks for myself daily, it keeps me moving forward to the next task. And I think that would be the one thing that I would tell anyone to do. I don't care how successful you are. If you start your day with gratitude and you check your successes off throughout your day, you'll find yourself more motivated and compelled to complete your list, knowing it's never truly complete.
Well, I know for both of you, family's very important. And I know you both your families have sacrificed a lot for your careers, for your volunteering here. But I also know that part of that sacrifice is teaching them the importance of leadership and getting involved and ultimately setting that example because it comes back. So again, I want to thank you guys. So we talked earlier about the biggest challenges when you started your career. So now I'm going to come to kind of what's your biggest challenge now?
I'm a little older than Maren. Actually, I think I'm almost, I won't put age on any. I'm a little older than Maren, I know. I think for me, the biggest challenge is appreciating the time and understanding that, or trying to understand what's the end game. How do I leave it better, knowing that I have to consciously make room for the next generation? Currently, I'm feeling very challenged in that arena. The next generation coming, motivating and encouraging others to come up through leadership. Because, I think the median age for realtors is like 60, 62 maybe-ish. I won't say we're getting old, but we're getting seasoned. We're like fine wine. And the time will come where we have to step aside and who is coming up. And that toils in my mind a lot. Who is coming up? How do we open up those pathways and mentor the next cohort of leaders coming through, especially where we are right now in our industry? In my opinion, it's no secret that, we know what's going on in the industry. Some folks are getting out. But those who will remain developing strong leaders. And personally, for me, entering into the state level, being a strong leader and having a voice that resonates with our realtor community, that encourages them to get involved, get planted in who we are and the value that realtors bring. There are a lot of challenges, and we need strong leaders coming up.
We need a strong team coming up.
Yes.
That's my biggest challenge that I see right now in the professional arena for myself is how do I preserve and protect all my coworkers' livelihoods? And that's my singular focus, quite frankly. I wear the other hat as well as a broker, and my job every day and that daily toil is protecting my clients' best interests. And I can do that without batting an eye. That's not what keeps me up at night. What keeps me up at night is protecting all my coworkers' livelihoods and their careers and how we can evolve and change and ride the wave versus be crushed by it. And that's actually where I see us right now. We're standing at a precipice, a very important one. And I'm trying frantically to build a bridge across it. So that's my greatest challenge. And I think that's probably all of our greatest challenge right now is I want there to be a future for the next generation. I don't want for realtors to be extinct. I want this career who has given me so much and provided for my family to be able to do the same for generations to come. And I think that's in great peril right now.
All right, well, let's switch gears to some lighter questions. And if you only had one chance to have dinner with someone, famous or not, dead or alive, who would that be and what would you talk about?
For me, there's some obvious, of course. If I could have dinner with my mom again, let's just put that on the table. She's been gone now over 23 years. So I would love to have dinner with mom again. If I had to think of someone living, as I reflect that, we're celebrating women's history or International Women's History, I would have to say it would be Kamala Harris, because we are the greatest country and we have a woman of color in seat number 2. That to me is mind-blowing. Politics aside, coming through the journey I've been through in leadership, and by far that's a gnat, right, compared to where she is. But can you just fathom the rooms that she walks in, nationally, internationally, as a woman of color? I would love to explore that conversation with her and say, how much water's in your boots, because that just has to be just fascinating. So, yeah, Kamala Harris.
And you can ask her about her mom.
Yes.
Maren?
I know how proud my past relatives that are gone before me are of my family, so I won't go there. I'll actually go to my daughter I never had. I'd love to have dinner with her to show her what her loss led me to. And hopefully that would make her proud. But I also would absolutely probably like to have dinner with Queen Elizabeth, who's now gone, because I think she's fascinating. I think she's led such a life. There's so many chapters in her book that no one will ever know about. What she was handed at the age of 19 and had to do was remarkable. And think about all the great men she served with. And she served with them, make no bones about it. It was not her serving them. And I just find that fascinating, that she led so many lives and impacted so many and will continue to do such. She was just remarkable.
Reflecting back over your careers, if you could go back and talk to the younger version of yourself, if there was one piece of advice or inspiration you would tell your younger self, what would it be?
Reflecting on my younger self, I know there were opportunities where I led from the back, and I said that was my comfort zone. I'm the behind the curtain leader. I often wonder how my life would be different or whose lives I could have impacted sooner if I would have went forth and be courageous and go forth.
And I would tell young Maren, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't play it safe all the time, because it's amazing what you can do when you take that leap, but you never know until you do it. Too many times I stood at that edge of that pool and didn't jump in. So jump and trust yourself.
Good advice, you guys. Well, our time is up, and I'm so grateful that you both were here to share your stories. I think what we continue to learn about leadership is that it's a choice. Leaders inspire people to act, and great leaders inspire people to care. You both are really excellent examples of leadership, and I'm fortunate to be able to work and learn alongside of you. I'm also very fortunate to consider both of you my friends. Thank you both for being so inspirational and continuing to trailblaze and allow all of us to follow you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Inside the Canopy Files, presented by Canopy Realtor Association in Charlotte, North Carolina. Connect with us online at carolinahome.com.